safer place with that constant attacks on the country, about repeatedly to wipe it from the map.
There's not enough
Israel
build
would be a lone
space.
rock of stability in a neighborhood
The capture upgrade has
hobbled
been
by a
researched,
power
General.
vacuum. Israel would benefit immediately from trade ties with the rich Gulf states who've long cited Iran's menacing as a reason for taking sides. Israel would cement this place as the region's only nuclear-armed nation with the most advanced military and the deepest intelligence network. It would in effect be a superpower with no break on whatever ambitions it has. And putting aside in many ways this war would go horribly wrong, it's no surprise that Netanyahu says he's dreamed of it for 40 years.
Yes, let's pick up
no
something.
surprise
China's
that
ready for
Israel
orders.
has
This
pressed
building is
successive
ours.
US presidents to join the war, often as Anthony Blinken revealed, by threatening to strike first if necessary. No surprise that Israelis
We have better
support the
aircraft
war
armor now.
overwhelmingly. What is missing in all of
Ready
this
for
is a
orders.
clear and consistent case
Our
as to
power
why
is
any
low.
of these factors are a
We have
threat to
captured the
Israel.
building,
Not
sir.
enough
China
build
can now
space.
we have captured
States.
the building, sir.
President Trump has reneged on his
China
pro-peace
has been
statements
generous.
and talks on
All
his
preparations
supporters.
Unit
now
Launched
lost.
an unpopular and expensive war,
She
and
need
even
coming.
elections which could
Let's
condemn
build orders
to lame duck irrelevant. Prominent
Any targets there?
thousands pro-Israel commentators who've all called themselves never Trumpers in the past, not necessarily conspiratorial to make this war all about Israel. The war supporters have made it all about Israel. And this week, Mark Levin said its critics are just as evil as Nazis.
Is giving aid and comfort, propaganda to the enemy, as are individuals who I call the woke right neo-fascists, who are stirring the anti-Semitism pot, who are stirring the trash Christian pot.
Nice location.
They are no different than the same voices we heard in the 1930s, and just as disgusting, evil, and reprehensible.
Unleash the firebird.
Pretty ridiculous to compare the right-wing commentators right now to Nazis. Joe Kent, who resigned as Trump's counter-terrorism chief over a war he said was at the behest of the Israeli lobby, has been condemned as a neo-Nazi Jew-hating Israel basher. Well, I've personally been accused of attacking or hating Israel or Israelis for pointing out that this very right-wing administration currently running Israel has itself said that Israel is the reason the US is at war. So before we debate, here's a definitive guide to why everyone is talking about Israel.
Our power is
If
low.
we didn't do it first, they would have done it to Israel and give us a shot if that was possible.
That if Israel fired upon Iran, attacked against Iran, then they would have immediately retaliated against U.S. personnel and assets.
Israel would have been wiped out. They would have had nuclear weapons within 2 weeks after.
Absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to simply sit down and absorb a blow before we responded.
Israel facing existential, and they were
Unit
prepared to strike
lost.
Iran.
Where is the
alone.
battle?
If that happened, Iran is very likely to target our troops.
We did it because we have some good allies there. We have some great Middle Eastern countries there, Israel
The building
there.
is ours.
Well, Jonathan Gonricus and Norman
Let's
Finkelstein will
build.
be joining us in a few minutes for a fascinating
We
debate.
stand together.
We'll begin today's
We
coverage
stand the
with
building
Professor
now.
John Mearsheimer, a regular visitor to Uncensored, who's written and spoken about all
We
of
stand
this
together.
for decades. Professor Mearsheimer, welcome back to
We
Uncensored.
have big plans. Construction
I'm glad to be
build
here,
space.
Piers, and I'm glad to see that you've recovered from your fall.
Thank you. Nearly there, nearly there. Back in the
China has
studio,
been generous.
down to one crutch, and life goes on, thankfully.
Let's build.
Let me just ask you straight off the top. A lot of people on the sort of vehemently pro-Israeli side
Upgrade
tend to
complete.
say, why do you keep making this about Israel? Why do you keep talking about
Nice
Israel? When
location.
they themselves constantly talk about Israel. And from my perspective, often try and silence legitimate debate about Netanyahu's government and what they're up to by branding people who criticize it in any way anti-Semitic and so on.
Looks promising.
Upgrade complete.
You can't escape Israeli influence, not least in this war in Iran, right?
We will prosperity.
Israeli influence and the Israel lobbying in leading the United States into this war is quite obvious.
Garrison the
There's
building.
just an abundance of evidence that
Upgrade
Israel
complete.
Defenders of peace.
pushed us
That
into
building
this
looks
war,
safe.
and
We
that the
fight from
lobby
high place.
helped. And of course, whenever that happens and somebody points it out, that person is accused of being an anti-Semite or a self-hating Jew. But this is ridiculous. The question is whether the evidence supports the claim or not. And the debate should be fought over the evidence, not devolved to name-calling, which of course exactly is what's happening here. But the fact is, Piers, there's overwhelming evidence that the lobby and Israel itself helped in a major way to push the United States into this war.
Well, we just have to take Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, at his own word before he was persuaded that he had to defend what he said. Because he said it on camera. He said that when asked why did America have to preemptively strike at Iran, he said because America had been notified by another country, clearly Israel, that they were going to attack Iran, and that the inevitable consequence would be that Iran would respond against American interests.
Just let me look on you. See me comments
on, and therefore America had to get in first to
Congratulations,
go in with the Israelis. It seemed at the time very
time.
convoluted, but very revealing too, because as we now know from Antony Blinken, I've talked about this many times on the show, it's so relevant, I think. Netanyahu had tried to do this with both Presidents Obama and Biden. He'd said, look, I'm going to attack Iran. Are you with me or not? And they both said no. And then he didn't attack Iran.
Unit lost.
And so there are many who do believe that Netanyahu saw something in the Iran. He basically bamboozled, forcefully persuaded Trump that he was A, going to do this, and B, America had to do the Israelis.
Yeah, I think it's not only Secretary of State Rubio who said that, but the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, said Israel has said that he worked hard with with Prime Minister Netanyahu to give Netanyahu advice on how to convince President Trump to attack Iran. So you see all sorts of evidence of Netanyahu's fingerprints on this.
We're now at a stage in this war where thousands of Marines have now been dispatched to the conflict zone. The Iranians, who must know they can't compete with the Americans and Israelis with their combined military firepower in the air, or at sea or anywhere else, frankly, militarily. But they can compete in this economic way.
I think what's going on is the United States
Congratulations, General. You have been promoted.
Decisive victory, either by decapitating or some shock and awe campaign the first few days of the war. And the Iranians would then throw up their hands and they would submit to our demands. And in fact, President Trump has said that he was told that there was a good chance that the Iranians would close down the Strait of Hormuz, but he ignored that warning because he thought we would win a victory before that became a viable option for the Iranians. But what's happened here is that we have not achieved a decisive victory. And we're now in a long war, a war of attrition. And that's a war that the Iranians prepared for, and that's a war that the Iranians are in an excellent position to prevail in. If you think about the various steps of the escalation we can take, what you see is that the Iranians can match us at every point, and they can cause not only enormous damage for the countries in the region, and for the United States military forces that are located there, but maybe even more importantly for the international economy. They have the ability, as you go up the escalation ladder, to tank the international economy. This would be catastrophic. So we are now in a situation, having failed to achieve a quick and decisive victory, where we could lose in a really serious way.
If you were advising Donald Trump, which is, I have to say, at the unlikely end of the expectation ladder, but if you were, what advice would you give him? He clearly, I think, wants to get out of this. but he doesn't seem to really know how to do that,
Let none stand against the
which
people.
doesn't look like a crush.
They have our move order restraint.
What would you advise him to do, which would be a skillful and achievable way of extricating America from this war?
Flounder ready. Let's get the job
I've
done.
thought long and hard about this, and I've talked to a number of very smart people, a number of my friends who are what I would call spinmeisters. They can figure out almost always how to get out of a mess. And I don't think anybody can come up with a good solution for solving this problem. What most people say is that what President Trump should do is declare victory and get out. He can do that, but it would be seen as a humiliating defeat for the United States. Furthermore, we run into the problem that the Iranians themselves might not agree to end the war. The United States can quit, but the Israelis and the Iranians may continue fighting. And again, as I said, the Iranians have a lot of cards to play here. They can do a lot of damage. So even if we walk away, it's not clear that that solves the problem. And then again, where I started, the United States will look like it suffered a humiliating defeat. So I think that President Trump has got himself into a situation where there is really no good exit strategy.
China's tank division. Yeah, that's the way I see it. I'm still completely baffled why politically, never mind anything else, he thought this was a good time to take the biggest gamble he'd ever taken. Because fighting for the Red Army. You know, already he was looking like he might lose the House and lose the Senate over this, and then pretty much it. You know, as a president, if you don't have Congress, there's not much you can do.
We have received access to the Manticore Army.
Otherwise, you're extremely limited in your power.
They will drown in the chaos.
And of course, the other irony of this is Russia already emerging as one of the big beneficiaries.
We pack a devastating payload, General.
Because the sanctions have been lifted, they're making enormous amounts of money from this, which could carry on the longer it goes on. And you've got to look at it and say, how does a war you launch against Iran that ends up with Russia benefiting with higher prices for its own
Send the specifics. We will do the rest.
Degraded Western sanctions against it.
Whoever crosses our borders will feel our wrath.
How does any of that be a win for the United States?
Unit lost.
Of course not. But to get to your initial point as to how he could have possibly got himself into this mess, I think it's very important to understand that he thought that the Iranian regime was very vulnerable. It was very weak.
Heavy weapons.
And the United States could cause it to topple with great ease.
We will ensure the safety of our people.
Before the war, when we moved the Armada into the Middle East, Steve Witkoff has told us that President Trump was surprised that the Iranians did not throw up their hands and surrender before the war started.
General.
In other words,
you have been
President Trump
promoted.
expected
Unit
the mere
lost.
threat of force from this Armada to cause Iran to surrender. And of course that didn't happen. And then he went to war with just a little bit of military force. This wouldn't be a long war. We would knock off the regime. And I think that his success in Venezuela, where he was able very quickly, gave him additional confidence that he could, in a sense, feel like the people's fact is that didn't happen. Again, once that doesn't happen, it's a catastrophic situation. But I don't think he thought for 1 second that would happen. Again, that's why he could dismiss the Pentagon's warning that it was likely that the Iranians would shut down the strait, and furthermore, the warning that the Iranians would engage in horizontal escalation. They would not simply attack Israel, they would attack American assets in the Gulf, and they would attack the Gulf states themselves. He just didn't see this coming. But once it came, he's in a mess that I don't see how he gets out of it.
It's very difficult to see how he gets out of it easily. Professor Meerschaert, always good to have your analysis. Thank you very much.
Carrying out orders.
You're more than welcome, Piers.
Well, returning to our sense to debate this with the new book, Gaza's grave diggers and inquire into corruption in high places. And Lieutenant Colonel Nadia,
ready for battle.
Jonathan Conricus. Well, welcome to both of you. Jonathan Conricus, we've talked a lot about this. You know, when I hear Professor Mearsheimer there, it could be incredibly difficult for Donald Trump and the Americans to extricate from something which may not be playing out how they anticipated or hoped. But it may be at the same time that Israel has a completely different agenda. That Israel would be quite happy to carry on having an extended war against what they see as the great enemy. You know, we've had Netanyahu talking about a 40-year, you know, sort of dream of this moment coming, now able to carry it through. I've talked to myself. Always see Iran is the big problem. Iran is the one with all the tentacles. Iran's the one we have to take out. We've made no secret of this. So it may be that we've got two big nations here with completely different wishes for how this plays out, in the sense that now it is where it is. Donald Trump is probably thinking, I think,
bring
victory. I don't put words in his mouth, but he changes a lot of what he says all the time.
Designated
probably thinking,
breaker.
I need an off-ramp here.
And
Netanyahu may be thinking the complete opposite. I'm quite happy to have a very level ramp carrying on for months.
Catch me if you
or
can.
as long as it takes. What would you say to that?
I'd say shalom from Israel. Thanks for having me on again. I'm happy, you know, this is recorded. I'm happy that the video will be out in eternity. That's the fun part about making assessments, and I will really enjoy seeing all the doomsday experts and the instant military analysts and people who now claim to understand the Iranian regime, the Israel-Iran conflict, and understand the Middle East very well, and maritime warfare, and many other things. And I really look forward to seeing their doomsday prophecies shatter at the face of reality when Israel and the US will be able to not only reopen the Strait of Hormuz and force the Iranians back
Whoever
in
crosses
position,
our borders,
when the US and Israel will help the Iranian people actually reclaim their freedom and get rid of this foreign oppression that has been governing the people over the last 47 years. And I look forward to the time when Israel and Iran, free of Islamist oppression, will re-establish diplomatic ties, trade, prosperity.
Let's go say hello.
I think, and I'm a realist. I don't think a lot of people can blame me for being rosy-eyed or reality. I think that most of the time my analysis is usually based on my military experience and how I understand conflict day out. And I think this time the balance of power between Iran on one side, the regime on one side, and the US and Israel, and soon to be two additional countries, it's not even a contest. I strongly dispute what the distinguished professor said before that Iran can escalate this horizontally and the US has in order to retaliate. Thankfully, respectfully, it doesn't have a clue. There are so many things that both Israel and the US can do that can totally cripple the regime and can really reduce Iran's infrastructure, economy, ability to trade, ability to move, transport, import, export, and many other things that Israel and the US can do if they want to. And I think rightfully so, Israel and the US have not done that now, and I hope it won't be necessary. But I am contrary to many of the doomsday prophecies and many people who are, you know, trying to count the daily interceptors and looking at the oil price and wishing it go to $200 and imagining that the Iranian regime has this tremendous, unlimited power to conduct guerrilla warfare like the Finns did against the Soviets in the Second World War. I think they're wrong. Reality will show them to be wrong, and I think that experts should have learned better by now not to think that they understand President Donald Trump and not to measure him by the yardsticks that other U.S. presidents have been measured by, because he is different. And you know, we can debate style and content. Just that point about the Israeli puppets. Here I agree. Israel, as I think the president has said, we have real skin in the game. We live here. We are the ones who have been facing these attacks for the better part of 30-odd years by the Iranian regime. So yeah, definitely. We want to get rid of terror organizations. We want to get rid of their ballistic missiles. We want whoever governs Iran to stop dreaming about developing nuclear weapons to wipe the Zionist entity off the map. We want them to stop dreaming about wiping Israel off the map by the year 2040, which was an official Iranian goal and policy. And we would love for there to be diplomatic relations and trade and prosperity. So yeah,
we go freely.
Unit lost.
Welcome back to Uncensored. Great to have you again. What is your response there? What is your response to what Jonathan Comrick has just done?
Pilots of the Chinese Army.
I'm not a military person by training
the People's
or
Air
by
Force.
disposition, so I'm not going to make any
Eliminating targets.
prognostications about whether Israel will win the short term,
ready
the
for
medium
takeoff.
term, or the long term. And I believe that, in my opinion, is a separate question from what ought to be the right question
Unit
to ask.
lost.
If you were to go to a program in Germany during World War II, and there are various persons on debating, should Germany have invaded Russia? Was it smart to wage a two-front war? Will Germany be able to prevail over Russia in the short or in the long term? For most people, sane people, that is, that's an insane question. Maybe Germany could have defeated Russia, for all I know. And maybe it was an error, as it turned out to be. The question is, was it just?
Upgrade complete.
Was it right? Who is in the right and who is in the wrong? Bad people win wars. That doesn't mean the war is right. Good people lose wars.
We will not allow
transgression. Good people are in the wrong.
Unit lost.
So let's look at the situation here. For 2.5 years, Israel waged what's called the crime of crime. Israel waged a genocide in Gaza. And then, before even the blink of an eye, Israel launched what was called at Nuremberg the supreme international crime, the crime of aggression. So we have Israel and its chief enabler, the United States, guilty of
Unit lost.
the crime of crimes, the crime of genocide. And then, before even the blink of an eye, Israel and its chief enabler, the United States, waging the supreme international crime of aggression. In fact, on the latter point, the supreme international crime of aggression, there hasn't even been the attempt, the pretext of a debate. There is no dispute whatsoever, none, that Israel and its chief enabler, the United States, are guilty of the supreme international crime of aggression in violation of Article 2 of the UN Charter, and for which it has no grounds whatsoever, zero grounds of self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter. That being the case, there can't be any dispute, none whatsoever, that Iran had the right and continues to have the right of self-defense against the supreme international crime of aggression. Now, it is true that the whole international system, as has been commented on in the last few months, in particular by the Prime Minister of Canada, but by many others, the whole international system of law has collapsed. The supreme international body for war and peace is the UN Security Council. And the UN Security Council failed in its responsibility to stop the war of aggression. That being the case, we have reverted from the state of law to the law of the jungle, or what's sometimes called the state of nature. Now, under these circumstances, where the state of law is gone,
ready for battle.
the Security Council failed in its responsibility in a case of blatant, brazen, flagrant aggression against a member state of the United Nations. Then, if you look at the English philosopher John Locke, he says, Israel, the United States,
There are no more supplies.
they have turned into wild, savage beasts, guilty of the crime of crimes and the supreme international crime. They have become dangerous to mankind. And under those circumstances, says Locke, every man may restrain or where it is necessary, destroy things obnoxious to them. And that's what these two states have become. They have become noxious to humanity. Destroying now Tehran, destroying Beirut. Two Arab, in the case of Tehran, Muslim, a Muslim and an Arab capital being destroyed.
Okay, but let me just...
It's not a war.
But Norman Ferguson, let me just jump in and ask you one question on that before I go back to Jonathan, which is, would you categorize the Iranian regime since 1979 as a noxious entity? Because to many people's eyes, whatever their view of the war, the general point of agreement is that this has been a pretty vile, repressive regime. It certainly lives up to the title of noxious. Would you be happy to say that it's been a noxious regime?
I would say two things, and I'll say them in reverse order. The Iranian regime has been guilty of actions within its sovereign state that cannot be justified and which properly is classified as crimes. Human rights egregious human rights violations. About that I have no doubt. However, number two, I want to stop human rights violations. Number two, I don't believe the Iranian regime was ever given a chance to see how it would unfold between the crippling sanctions that were imposed on the Iranian government and then the huge amounts of money it had to subtract from civilian investment in order to counter, from its inception, the military threat posed by Israel and the United States.
Okay, let me...
meant that huge amounts of resources that might have gone to a better end were squandered because of the brutal sanctions and the threats of war.
Okay, Jonathan, just respond quickly to that
Unit
point.
lost.
To the 2 points there, which Norman Finkelstein said. Then I want to just talk to you about Joe Kent after that. So just respond to him on that.
Yeah, when I came on the show,
Strike
I didn't know
aircraft
I was
reporting
coming in for a lengthy, long,
We will ensure the safety of our people.
syllable word academic lecture, but I will be brief and I will say that I think it's absolutely ridiculous. If we scale back to 1979, the Islamic Republic of Iran is the aggressor. The Islamic Republic of Iran has been building ballistic missiles, has been arming terror organizations, has been calling and acting to try to destroy the state of Israel. They have said so. Numerous presidents,
The safety of China is our priority.
the current not so much, but former supreme leader Khamenei and the previous one, the first one, have said so explicitly that it is their wish, their desire, their plan, their divine commitment to destroy what they call the Zionist entity. And I think what Israel is guilty of isn't now taking action. It isn't launching a strike on the Iranian regime's ability to fire ballistic missiles at Israel or at 10 or 11 other countries in the Middle East. It is that it took us so long and that we didn't do it earlier. And we could have saved thousands of Israelis, thousands of civilians that were murdered by Palestinians, by Syrians, by Lebanese, by other Arabs who were funded and armed by this very evil empire of terrorism, which was the Iranian regime.
General.
And the only thing I regret is that, only now are we doing it. And I think we should have done it way sooner. And as I said before, now I am optimistic that this will actually change and we'll find ourselves in a different trajectory. But from my perspective, I have zero doubt who the aggressor is. Iran will be aggressor. We never aggressed against Iran until we were fired upon, until our civilians were murdered by their proxies, until they fired ballistic missiles at us.
Maybe to the core.
It's a very clear situation. And trying to turn it on its head, I think it's quite ridiculous and really unfounded.
Okay, but if you look at the resignation letter of Joe Kent, he was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center and a big supporter of Donald Trump until yesterday. He resigned his position and included in his letter, he said Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. It is clear we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. He went on to say this was a lie and is the same tactic the Israelis used to draw us into the disastrous Iraq. Cost our nation the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. I mean, powerful words from a guy who until 2 days ago, if you'd asked anybody in the conference, they said, look, the guy's great. He's our top national counter-terrorism guy. Now, of course, they've all turned on him. What is your response to what he said?
Look at that.
I think President Trump responded quite masterfully by retweeting a tweet that the same guy tweeted a few years ago, where he directly called on the president when he was in between his terms to actually take action against Iran and how Iran, the Iranian regime, is a threat to the U.S. and it must be checked. And I think that's, the best and shortest way. I think this, this person, I don't know him. I've heard other people speak about him.
China is under attack!
So I won't speak about his character and who he is, and I frankly don't know enough about him. But I know that previously he had different opinions. And previously he said
Chinese light armor
different things about the Islamic Republic of Iran and the threat that it poses to the U.S. And, I think we should be truthful here and honest. Yes, currently, the Iranian regime did not possess ballistic missiles that were capable of reaching continental U.S. So the Iranian regime could threaten U.S. service members in the area, they could threaten U.S. posture, they could threaten assets, they could threaten U.S. allies, but kill American civilians, I mean, they tried by killing various Iranian dissidents or Jewish targets. Reportedly, they tried to kill the president twice. But in terms of ballistic missiles, yeah, I agree. But then why wait? Why wait for a crazy regime full of radical Islamists who dream of destroying other countries, who chant death to America and say it continuously? Why wait for them to develop the ballistic missiles that are capable of reaching not only Europe, but actually also continental US? Why wait? They're weak now because Israel has weakened them, because they've overstretched, because they are corrupt, because they have mishandled funds, and they've gone in this
psychotic loophole of trying to destroy Israel by paying terrorists in the region. And you heard the Iranian people chant on the street weeks and months ago. No to Gaza, no to Lebanon. I want to live and die for Iran. Why do they say that? Are they, enticed by Mossad agents? No, they're saying it because they see that their regime is a corrupt one that prioritizes jihad against Israel and the future of their own country. And it's this corruption, this management that eventually weakened the regime, made it exposed enough for Israel to finally take the opportunity. And what we see now unfolding is the first stages of this regime falling. I think it will fall, and I think it will fall at the hands of the brave Iranian people who will find the courage again, summon the courage again, take to the streets and reclaim their freedom once the war stops.
Okay, Norman Finkelstein, I mean, you said earlier that you feel strongly
I would like to respond. I would like to respond to that.
You can respond to that, but I just want to ask you a question first, which is based on something you said before, which was, you believe strongly that Iran had a legal right to defend itself. Do you not think that Israel has the same right to defend itself against Iran?
Okay. One of the senior ballistics experts in the world is Professor Ted Coastal at MIT. And if I could put in a plug for him, although I don't know him, you ought to have him on your program. He did an interview a couple of days ago, a few days ago. He described the head of state of Israel, Mr. Netanyahu, as, quote, a homicidal maniac.
Unable to build there.
What an expert. Around a half hour later, Professor Postel again, after developing his argument, described Mr. Netanyahu as a homicidal maniac. And that was only a partial truth. The full truth is, it's a nation of homicidal maniacs.
Ready for bed.
He is the reflection of his nation. Now let's turn to Mr. Carnicus. Mr. Carnicus asks the question.
Ready for bed.
Mr. Carnicus asks the question. Why should we? Why should we?
Professor should be able to pronounce the name. No,
the other guest. The other guest.
It's too difficult
the other guest.
We will win this day.
The other guest says, why should we wait until Iran develops the missiles, the ballistic missiles, the delivery systems? Why should we wait?
It's time for blackouts.
Really?
We will live in prosperity.
China has ballistic missiles. It has nuclear-powered missiles, nuclear weapons, delivery systems for them. If you ask John Mearsheimer, who I count as a good friend, he will tell you that a conflict with China is inevitable.
China's time.
It's inevitable. Why should we wait?
Unit lost.
Why should we launch nuclear weapons at China?
Ready.
That crazy communist regime, which poses at some point in the future a real threat. Why should we wait? I'm old enough to remember 1963 when China acquired nuclear weapons.
Pilots of the Chinese army.
And the question was, why should we wait? Communist China, Marxist-Leninist, crazy fundamentalist Marxists. Why should we wait? I wonder if your other guest, I wonder if he believes it would have been a good idea for the United States to nuke China in 1963. Why should we wait? The whole point of the UN Charter. The whole point of the UN Charter. The whole point of the UN Charter is to take the threat of war, of death and destruction, of murder and mayhem, to take it seriously and to make sure
Unit
that
lost.
all diplomatic options have been exhausted before you go to war. So now let's
Great
quickly
answer
look.
to the question that Piers asked.
I bring
Brilliant.
Okay.
He asked
so now
if Israel
let's
has
look.
the right to defend itself, and you called
Can you
Israel
please
a
tell your
nation
other
of
speaker?
genocidal
Could
maniacs.
you please tell your
China's
other
finest.
speaker to let me speak? Oh yeah, but I do think
It's nice if you answer the question of the
I did
debate.
ask a
and not went
question.
on
So
calling
now,
us
so now
Nice and
let's
easy.
Yeah.
get to the question.
Yeah.
Let's
Unit
get to the
lost.
question.
By all means.
Piers.
I like how
Number
it's
one,
going.
there has always
Any
been an
scanners around?
option to
Calibrating gas
significantly diminish the threat to Israel.
speed. Away from
There
those
has
radars.
always been an option. It's to create a weapons of mass destruction free zone in the Middle East.
Roger that. No enemy.
We have one in Latin America, a weapons of mass destruction free zone. We have one in Africa. We have one in the South Pacific. What's the obstacle?
Unit lost.
There is one obstacle to eliminating all nuclear weapons in the Middle East. All nuclear weapons in the Middle East. To significantly diminish the threat to Israel. We have that option. Who's blocked it?
Unit
Who
lost.
has refused? Iran has gone along with it.
is being attacked!
All the other Middle Eastern states have gone along with it. Only one state, the one who pretends to be for peace and for security, which has opposed the weapons of mass destruction free zone in the Middle East. That's Israel. Iran is a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Is Israel a signatory to the Non-Proliferation
lost.
Treaty? In fact,
Piers, is he going to answer questions or
look-
just freewheel all day long? Like, I answer your questions. I don't sit here and just pontificate. You ask me a question, I answer it. Is this going to carry on all
Well, yeah,
night?
I do
Like him
think, Norman, that I did just ask a simple question: Is Israel not entitled to defend itself from Iran?
Israel has the right to defend itself under Article 51 of the UN Charter. If it faces an imminent, irreversible threat to its national sovereignty, you
Unit
can't
lost.
invoke a future possibility sometime into the future as grounds for launching a war.
It is
For
past.
launching a
It's
war.
present and past. It's
No.
not future. It's present and past. Really, I have to intervene here because you're
Unit
saying so many
lost.
things.
Mr. Cornicus,
Yeah, you're saying so many things that are ridiculous.
Well, we should be able to get people's
Jonathan.
names right. So his name is Jonathan Conricus. Let's please use the right name.
But I mean,
Conricus?
listen,
Conricus.
Conricus, Jonathan,
Fighter
if
jet
it's
is standing by.
too difficult, Mr.
Jonathan.
Professor Finkelstein. Yeah.
Nuclear missile is loaded.
Okay, Jonathan, do
You
you want
don't
to
have
respond?
the right.
Yeah. I mean,
Unit
listen,
lost.
it's a really clear case, very basic situation. From an Israeli perspective, we are under threat. We are
show them
at
the
the
might of
receiving end of
Chinese
Iranian
industry.
ballistic missiles. We're at the receiving end of Iranian-funded and armed
Thai
terror
upgrading. Let's go.
organizations. So if there ever was a justification for a sovereign country to defend itself and take military action against an aggressive,
lost.
hostile state, nation
anyone
state,
come near.
then it's Israel against Iran. And sure, we can debate the U.S. perspective on it, and we can debate how smart it is. I actually think that it's very smart to take care of an enemy that says that he wants to destroy you, just doesn't have the real capability to do so yet. I think it's exactly the right thing to do, to take care of that enemy and make sure that they don't have the means to fulfill their dreams of destroying or even threatening to destroy you. And weapons of mass destruction in the hands of religious
Unit
zealots
lost.
and ayatollahs and people who dream about, a Muslim caliphate and who govern their own country by oppression, who murder people on the streets, who hang gang people,
Unit
gay
lost.
people from trains, and who oppress everybody who doesn't. Nuclear weapons are horrible everywhere. They can be potentially horrible everywhere, but in the hands of people who have zero laws, zero respect for human life, That's the worst place for them to be. And frankly, sir, I don't think that the example of China is relevant. It could have been relevant in the 50s, and maybe then that could have been a smart thing. But I don't know, and I don't think it's really relevant today. What is relevant today is that Iran was pursuing nuclear weapons program. They were trying to build bombs, and they were enriching uranium. They were hiding their nuclear weapons program. They were trying to deceive the International Atomic Agency, and the world caught wind of it. Israel exposed it. The US exposed it. Europeans who are, you can blame them for being action-prone or wanting to, to be belligerent, but they actually saw and understood the threat, and they said, okay, let's deal with it in terms of sanctions. And they applied sanctions on the Iranian regime in order to give it an opportunity to course correct.
Jonathan, you're talking there about the need for Iran to be transparent and open and
prosperity is in the right hands. We strike fear into the enemy's hearts.
Aspirations, and yet,
the
of
safety
course, the
of
one
China
country
is
in the
our
world
priority.
which resolutely refuses to be remotely transparent about its nuclear capability is Israel. I've asked Netanyahu directly many times. I asked Naftali Bennett, the former Prime Minister, last week. Nobody ever wants to give a straight answer. So let me just ask you. You said you answer my questions. Does Israel have nuclear weapons? Yes or no?
Listen, as far as I know, and as you know, not the Prime Minister, not even close to it, way above my pay grade. But as far as I understand, Israel does possess significant capabilities. But officially, Israel says it maintains this policy of ambiguity.
Why?
I think at this stage, the organizations, enemies, people who need to know, they know. And I'm specifically focusing on our enemies.
Yeah, but you understand why people like me look at it and go, hang on, you guys are all over Iran about their nuclear capability. You want full transparency. You don't want anyone misleading anybody. And yet when it comes to your own nuclear weapons, you're about the first Israeli guest I've ever had, I think, who's openly said, yeah, we've got it. But the idea that your government can just not answer that question and is the only country in the world that doesn't give an answer to that question. Why does Israel get a pass? I don't understand.
Well, I think it's fundamentally different when you try to compare Iran and Israel.
Well, let me compare you to the UK. Why should the UK be open and transparent about its nuclear capability, but Israel get a pass? I don't understand why there's one rule for Israel and another rule for everybody else has got them.
But even more substantial, of course, why should anybody have nuclear weapons? Why does the UK have them? For what purpose? What does it serve France? What does it serve Russia, China, the US?
Well, obviously they have to live at the terror, as I assume Israel does. But again, the French are open about it, the British are open about it, the Americans are open about it. The only country that is Israel.
Yeah, but I mean, what's more important, whether you have it or not, or whether you speak about it? I mean, I think it's something that, frankly, it's one of those Israeli policies that I actually don't understand myself. I've questioned it a few times and sought answers to really understand the reason behind it. The way I analyze it is that it was a policy that was or principle that was formulated many years ago, maybe in the 60s, and at the time it served a purpose while capabilities were being generated, and then it probably just carried on with inertia. And maybe a future Prime Minister of Israel will say, you know what, world, yes, we have them. We're armed with them, and we can use them in order to defend ourselves against an existential threat.
I think that would be an excellent idea if Israel just was
I personally would support it. I personally would support it, but then that change the situation of capitalism has gone into a crazy religious fundamental regime like Iran.
I just think if you're going to lecture other countries about being transparent about their nuclear capability, you've got to be yourself. Otherwise, you're
no, I mean, my issue with Iran is that they try to destroy the state of Israel. They openly say that their
you made that point.
is to annihilate that.
Yeah, I'm not quibbling with that.
It's not so much about transparency.
I'm not questioning
about the fact that they want to kill us all.
I understand. I've got to leave it there. Thank you both very much indeed for the debate. I appreciate it. Piers Morgan Uncensored is proudly independent. The only boss around here is me. If you enjoy our show, we ask for only one simple thing. Please subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. In return, we will continue our mission to inform, irritate and entertain. We'll do it all for free. Independent, uncensored media has never been more critical, and we couldn't do it without you.
Unit lost.
Who said our planes are weak?
Reconnaissance don't anymore.
Multi-role stealth fighter standing by. This area will be safe soon.
Unit lost.
Ready.
Ready to recon? Super. I'll make it safe for you. Looking good. Right away. Easy target one. I'll get there. Right away. Are you recording this?
Are you
China's
ready?
rocket soldier. I like the big targets. Let's find the tanks.
We observe the battlefield. Where are we going? We need to be careful though.
Battle tank, ready for battle.
China's finest.
No way!
Lost.
I have problem. Battle tank, ready for battle.
Make sure I won't get spotted.
Battle tank, ready for battle.
Ready to serve.
I'm carrying the big gun.
Crew of
Battle
the
tank,
tank
ready for
elites.
battle.
Advancing.
Battle tank, ready for battle.
所 unit by
lost.
就是被发现无人机。Black Eagle at your service. We travel
Battle tank,
swiftly.
ready for battle.
Chinese power supreme.
China's rocket soldier.
Unit lost.
Multi-role stealth fighter standing by.
Blackout bomber primed. Heavy missile launcher. Make
Unit
sure
lost.
to provide us with an escort.
Armata awaiting orders.
Unit lost.
За Родину!
Unit lost.
They're attacking our base.
China's finest.
Enemy tanks out there. The enemy stand together.
Hurricane ready.
Unit lost.
We stand together.
We observe the battlefield. Let's see what everyone is up to.
Unity is strength.
Hurricane ready.
The skill war of China. Get us more tanks and we will show them the will of the machine.
Yes. Understood.
Hurricane ready.
Pilots of the Chinese army. This area will be safe.
Whatever they brought, we will turn it off.
Unit lost.
We stand together. Vengeance is near.
Ready.
We stand together.
Unit lost.
Ready.
Multi-role stealth fighter standing by. Hostile insect moving to attack.
Unity is straight. Keep firing until they surrender.
No.
Charges
Unit
lie down.
lost.
Reporting in, General.
Are you ready?
Standing attention. Defenders of peace. Yes, sir.
What
Bow tank,
needs
ready for battle.
annihilation? Commencing missile bombardment.
No one can feel a greater horde than China.
China's Joe Patrol at your service.
A force to reckon with. Approaching
We
a better
will
position.
win
Ready for
this
battle.
day.
Mobile drone launcher.
Our missiles surely pack a punch, General.
Our prosperity is in the right hands.
Bow tank, ready for battle.
Easy target.
China's Joe Patrol at your service.
Black Eagle at your service. Strike aircraft standing
Bow
by.
tank, ready for battle.
We are victorious.
Gatling tube transport.